Almost every doctor, every nurse, every well-meaning family member has told you the same thing for the last 20 years. Drink more water, stay hydrated, keep that bottle close, and I understand why. It sounds harmless, it sounds like the safest advice in all of medicine. But if you are past 70, or you love someone who is, I need you to hear me carefully today, because that simple advice, followed too faithfully, can quietly turn against the very body it was supposed to protect. My name is Dr. Ryan Foster, and I am going to give you the short version first, right now, because you have waited long enough for straight answers from people in my profession. After roughly age 70, the aging kidney loses a large part of its ability to fine-tune water. It struggles to hold water when your body is running dry, and it struggles to unload water when you have taken in too much. So plain water, poured in by the glassful on an empty stomach, often runs straight through you, or worse, it dilutes the single most important number in your bloodstream. The number that keeps your brain firing properly. That number is sodium, and when your sodium drifts below 135, which is the threshold the Mayo Clinic uses to define hyponatremia, meaning low blood sodium, the first symptoms are not thirst, they are fatigue, brain fog, unsteadiness on your feet, confusion. And here is the tragedy hidden inside all of this. Those are exactly the symptoms that get blamed on old age. They are the symptoms that get blamed on the early stages of dementia. Families start touring memory care facilities when the real culprit was sitting on the kitchen counter the whole time, wearing a lid and a set of time markings down the side. Over the next several minutes, I am going to walk you through the true story of a 74-year-old woman whose water bottle very nearly put her into a hospital bed. I am going to explain the exact mechanism inside the aging kidney that makes this happen, in plain language, no jargon you have to look up. I will show you the common blood pressure pill sitting in millions of American medicine cabinets right now that makes this problem dramatically worse. I will describe the eating pattern that doctors quietly refer to by a nickname behind closed doors, a pattern that turns a perfectly healthy habit into a genuine hazard. And I will give you the specific, practical way to hydrate after 70, so that the water you drink actually stays where it belongs, instead of washing out the one mineral your brain cannot live without. And there is one more thing. There is a finding from a 2019 study that suggests this kidney decline may not be nearly as inevitable as we have long assumed. I will get to that near the very end, because it changes how you should think about everything else I am about to tell you. It carries real hope in it. Here is exactly what this video will deliver, point by point, so you know the promise I am making to you. First, the plain language mechanism. Why a 70-year-old kidney handles a single glass of water completely differently than a 30-year-old kidney, including the specific hormone that grows more aggressive with age at the very same time that your thirst grows quieter. Second, 3 warning signs that the water you are drinking is diluting you instead of hydrating you. Signs that most people, and even some professionals, mistake for the ordinary wear of getting older. Third, the medication check. One specific class of blood pressure pill that, according to research published in a clinical endocrinology journal, makes low sodium far more likely in older adults, and I will give you the precise question to ask your doctor about it. Fourth, the correct way to take in fluid after 70. When to drink, what to pair it with, and why a glass of water taken with a meal behaves like an entirely different substance in your body than a glass of water taken alone at 10 o'clock in the morning. And fifth, the kitchen table check you can perform this week, using nothing but your own daily routine and a single question at your next appointment to find out whether your sodium is drifting long before it ever becomes an emergency. Every one of those 5 promises gets paid off before this video ends. I do not leave loose threads. A quick and honest word about where all of this comes from. Everything I share with you today is drawn from published research and major medical references. The Mayo Clinic, the National Library of Medicine, and peer-reviewed medical journals, and I will name them as we go so you can check my work. This is education, not a prescription. Your situation is your own, and the final decisions belong to you and to your personal physician, not to a man speaking to you through a screen. And one small request before the story begins: there is no billing code for prevention. Nobody in my field gets reimbursed for the 15-minute conversation that keeps you out of the emergency room. That is precisely why videos like this one have to exist outside the walls of a clinic. If that matters to you, the subscribe button is how this channel keeps making them, and it costs you nothing but a tap. Now, let me tell you about a woman I will call Eleanor. Eleanor is a composite, built from patterns that show up over and over again in the medical literature and in emergency departments across the country, but every single detail is true to how this actually unfolds in real lives. Eleanor is 74. She lives alone in a modest two-bedroom house in Dayton, Ohio. She walks her neighborhood loop most mornings, and she prides herself, as many of us do, on doing things the right way. 2 years ago, after a frightening dizzy spell in the July heat, her daughter bought her a large insulated water bottle, the kind with encouraging time markings printed down the side. 8 in the morning, drink to here. Noon, drink to here. Eleanor took it seriously, because she takes everything seriously. She finished that bottle twice a day, roughly 10 to 12 glasses of plain water, most of it sipped between meals, because she had read in a magazine that steady sipping all day long was the healthy way to do it. Through that fall, small things began slipping. She felt foggy in the late morning, a haze she could not quite shake. She lost the thread of long phone conversations with her sister mid-sentence. Twice she rose in the night, felt the room tilt strangely, and had to sit back down on the edge of the bed until it settled. Her appetite quietly faded, which she noticed but did not mind, because all that water kept her feeling comfortably full at mealtimes. In November, she stumbled on the back step, not a real fall, just a wobble, but enough that her daughter started a folder on her phone. The folder was labeled, and I want you to feel the weight of this, memory care options. That is the part I need you to sit with for a moment. This family was researching dementia facilities, and nobody, not Eleanor, not her devoted daughter, not the pharmacist who refilled her blood pressure pill faithfully every single month, connected any of it to the water bottle. And truly, why would they? Water is the one thing every authority on earth agrees is safe. In early December, Eleanor had a morning where she simply could not finish a sentence. Her daughter drove her in, frightened, and the blood panel came back with a sodium level sitting well below that 135 line. Not dementia. Not a stroke, dilution. Her blood had been slowly, patiently watered down over the course of months, and her brain, which depends on sodium to fire every single electrical signal it sends, had been running on a thinned-out supply the whole time. With careful, supervised correction and a changed daily routine, the fog lifted, the unsteadiness improved, and that folder on her daughter's phone got deleted. I tell you Eleanor's story first, before anything else, because Eleanor did nothing reckless. She followed the most repeated piece of health advice in America, using a product specifically designed to help her follow it, and it moved her steadily and silently toward a hospital bed. A systematic review published in BMJ Open in 2021 gathered together the documented cases of exactly this, hyponatremia driven by ordinary oral water intake in adults, and it confirmed, plainly, that yes, this happens. It is in the literature. It is not a freak event. Eleanor is not unusual. Eleanor is simply what happens when advice built for a 40-year-old body gets applied, without adjustment, to a 74-year-old kidney. So what is actually going on inside that aging kidney? Let me give you the one-sentence version first, and then I will build it out for you piece by piece. After 70, the kidney becomes a worse editor of water, slower to save it when you are dry, and slower to dump it when you are overloaded, and at the very same time, your sense of thirst goes quiet. So the body loses both the machinery and the alarm system at once, both at the same moment. Start with the machinery. A classic review in the journal American Family Physician laid this out decades ago. As we age, blood flow through the kidneys decreases, the filtration rate declines, and critically, the kidney's ability to concentrate urine falls off. Concentrating urine is how your body saves water overnight. It packs the waste into less fluid so that you do not dehydrate while you sleep. An older kidney does that job less well, which, by the way, is one honest reason so many people over 70 find themselves up at 2 in the morning walking to the bathroom. That same review makes the point that matters most for our story. These changes leave older adults more vulnerable in both directions, toward hypernatremia, blood that is too salty from losing water, and toward hyponatremia, blood that is too dilute from retaining it. The aging kidney does not simply fail at one task. It loses its margin for error on both sides of the equation at once. Now the hormone. Your body controls water using a hormone called vasopressin. Think of it as the water-saving signal. When vasopressin is high, your kidneys hold on tightly to water. Research published in the American Journal of Physiology found something genuinely remarkable about aging. The vasopressin system does not weaken with age. It actually grows more sensitive, more trigger-happy, all while the sensation of thirst grows blunted and faint. Read that again in your mind. The hormone that tells your kidneys to hold on to water gets louder as you age. At the exact moment your ability to feel thirst gets quieter. So picture Eleanor once more. She drinks 12 glasses of plain water a day. Her aging kidneys are already slow at excreting the excess. and her water-saving hormone is oversensitive, ready to clamp down and retain fluid at the slightest provocation. The water comes in faster than her system can possibly edit it out. It has to go somewhere, so it goes into her blood, and it dilutes her sodium. A study in Age and Aging back in 1993 ran this experiment directly. They deprived older people of water, let them become genuinely dehydrated, and then watched what happened. Those older adults felt less thirst than younger people did. They drank less when finally given the chance, and their kidneys were less able to hold on to the water they already had. A 2018 study in the Journal of Nutrition, Health and Aging, looking at middle-aged cyclists, found the same blunted thirst signal showing up even in active, fit adults, along with elevated risk on both ends. The thirst gauge on your dashboard is simply less reliable after a certain age. That is not a flaw in you, it is biology. Eleanor's version of this problem is the most common one, but it is not the only one, and I want to show you 2 more patterns so you can recognize whichever is closest to your own life. Then I will show you a third case, the one that surprises even seasoned nurses. First, meet Frank. Frank is 71, retired from a machine shop, living outside Tucson, Arizona. Frank takes a small white pill every morning for his blood pressure. A thiazide diuretic, one of the most prescribed blood pressure medications in the entire country, and he has taken it faithfully for 9 years without any trouble. Thiazides work partly by making you lose sodium through your urine. Now, layer the brutal Arizona summer on top of that. Frank sweats. He hears the constant desert advice to push fluids, and so he pushes plain water. A gallon jug sits on the workbench in his garage. Sodium is leaving through the pill and through his sweat, and pure water is pouring in on top of it all. Research published in Best Practice and Research Clinical Endocrinology and Metabolism spells out that thiazide-induced hyponatremia is disproportionately a problem of older adults, and that it is especially likely in people with poor solute intake, meaning people who are not eating much and whose sodium and potassium already sit at the low end of normal. Frank ends a July week feeling drugged, heavy-limbed, and mentally slow. His wife assumes it is the heat. It is his sodium. If you or your spouse takes a water pill for blood pressure, and millions of Americans over 65 take this exact combination, it deserves a direct conversation with your doctor, and I will give you the specific question to ask in just a few minutes. Second, meet Miriam. Miriam is 68, recently widowed, in Portland, Oregon. Since her husband died, cooking for one feels pointless, so her days run on tea, toast, crackers, a banana, maybe a little soup. Doctors have an informal name for this pattern, and this is the nickname I mentioned at the very start. The tea and toast diet. Here is why it matters so much for water. Your kidneys cannot excrete pure water all by itself. To get rid of excess water, the kidney has to package it together with dissolved substances called solutes, mostly the breakdown products of protein and the minerals found in real food. Think of solutes as the shipping boxes and water as the packing material. No boxes, nothing ships. Miriam eats so little solid food that her kidneys have almost no boxes at all, so even a modest 6 or 7 glasses of water, an amount that would be perfectly reasonable for her neighbor, backs up in her system because her kidneys physically lack the raw material to flush it out. She is not overdrinking, she is undereating, and that alone converts a normal water intake into an overdose. And third, the case that surprises people the most. Meet Walter, 76, a retired teacher in Charlotte, North Carolina. Walter is the healthy one, walks 3 miles a day, weight is good, no water pill, eats reasonably well, but Walter got a real scare from a kidney stone at 69, and his takeaway from that pain was simple: water is medicine, and more is always better, so he drinks constantly. First thing at 5:30 in the morning, last thing at night, always between meals, never with food, because he read somewhere that drinking with meals dilutes your digestion. Walter's sodium does not crash dramatically, it drifts, 138 one year, 136 the next. Then it is sitting at 133, technically below the Mayo Clinic's line, and nobody flags it hard, because he feels more or less okay. Except Walter has quietly stopped driving at night. His golf swing feels off. He tells his son that 76 just feels different than 75 did. Mild, chronic, low-grade hyponatremia does not announce itself with sirens. According to the Mayo Clinic's own patient reference on the condition, the symptom list includes nausea, headache, confusion, fatigue, and muscle weakness or cramps. And in an older adult, every single one of those gets quietly filed under just getting older. Walter is the exact reason I am going to tell you, in the action steps, to look at the sodium line on your own lab printout yourself, rather than settling for the comforting phrase, "Your labs look fine." Eleanor, Frank, Miriam, Walter. Overdrinking, medication, undereating, and slow drift. 4 different doors into the very same room. So here is exactly what to do, in order, starting this week. And notice carefully that none of this tells you to stop drinking water. Dehydration is absolutely real. Medline Plus, run by the National Institutes of Health, is clear that older adults are more prone to it, and the blunted thirst research we covered is precisely why you cannot simply wing it. The goal is not less water, the goal is smarter water. Step 1. Drink your water with food, not instead of it. This is the single highest value change you can make, and it costs nothing at all. When water arrives alongside a meal, it comes packaged with sodium, potassium, and protein, the very salutes your kidneys need in order to process it. The shipping boxes from Miriam's story: a glass with breakfast, a glass with lunch, a glass with dinner, and moderate amounts in between. If most of your daily fluid currently lands on an empty stomach, flip that ratio this week. Same water, a completely different fate inside your body. Step 2. Retire the gallon jug mindset and spread your intake out. The aging kidney is slow, so respect its pace. Rather than pounding 16 ounces at once to catch up on your schedule, keep single servings modest, in the range of a normal glass, and space them across the whole day. Load them toward morning and midday, and taper off after dinner. Your bladder will thank you at 2 in the morning, and your kidneys get a workload they can actually keep up with. Step 3. If you take a thiazide diuretic, or any water pill, ask your doctor one specific question at your next visit. Say this: "Given my age and this medication, how often should we be checking my sodium, and what was it last time?" That is it. You are not challenging the prescription. These medications control blood pressure for very good reasons, and stopping one on your own is genuinely dangerous, so please do not do that. You are simply asking for surveillance, because the endocrinology literature identifies exactly your combination, older age plus thiazide, as the high-risk profile. A once-a-year check may be plenty, or your doctor may want it sooner in the heat of summer. Let them decide, but make sure somebody is deciding. Step 4. Feed the machine, especially if you live alone. If your dinners have quietly become tea and toast, understand that this is a hydration issue, not just a nutrition issue. Protein at 2 meals a day, real food with actual minerals in it, is what gives your kidneys the raw material to manage water at all. Medline Plus, run by the National Library of Medicine, has straightforward guidance on nutrition in older adulthood, and the theme is always the same. Older bodies need quality intake, not just fluid. If appetite is the barrier, smaller portions of denser food beat large plates you will not finish. Soup is a beautiful cheat here, because it delivers water, sodium, and food all in one warm bowl. Step 5. Learn the 3 signs of dilution, and stop misfiling them under old age. 1. New or worsening brain fog and trouble concentrating, especially if it fluctuates through the day. 2. Unsteadiness, that tilting room feeling Eleanor had, or a walk that suddenly feels less sure beneath you. 3. A combination of low appetite, nausea, and unusual fatigue. The Mayo Clinic lists these among the presentations of low sodium. Any one of them alone can have a dozen causes, but if they cluster together, and especially if they cluster in a heavy water drinker, someone on a diuretic, or someone barely eating, then sodium belongs firmly on the suspect list. And that is a phone call to your doctor, not a wait and see. To be perfectly clear, sudden severe confusion or a seizure is an emergency. That is 9/11, not a video. Step 6. Read your own lab report. At your next physical, the blood work will almost certainly include a basic metabolic panel, and on it a line for sodium. Ask for the actual number. The healthy range runs from about 135 to 145. If yours sits at 134, 135, or 136, you are not in crisis, but you are standing on the low bank of the river, and everything in this video applies to you double. Write the number down and compare it year to year. A slow drift downward across 3 years is Walter's whole story, and it is visible in plain sight to anyone who simply bothers to look at the trend instead of the single reassuring snapshot. Before I close, here is the finding I promised you at the very beginning, and it is the most hopeful thing in this entire video. A 2019 study in the American Journal of Physical Anthropology compared that classic age-related decline in urine concentrating ability, the very thing we in medicine have long treated as a fixed and unbreakable law of aging across different populations. And what it suggested is that this decline is not purely a fixed clock ticking inside every human body. It appears to be shaped, at least in part, by lifelong patterns of hydration, diet, and activity, which means the way you treat your body, starting today, starting with the very next glass you pour, may genuinely influence how gracefully those kidneys hold their margin in the years ahead. This was never entirely out of your hands, so let me leave you with the whole thing in a single breath. After 70, your body loses both the alarm and the machinery. The goal is not to fear water. The goal is to pair it with food, to spread it gently across your day, to feed the kidneys the solutes they need, to check that one small number on your lab sheet, and to ask your doctor the one question that turns silence into surveillance. Do those things, and the water you drink finally starts working for you again, exactly the way it was always meant to. I am Dr. Ryan Foster, and I will see you in the next one.